Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And it's Listener Story Day. And the first episode of October.
Ooh.
Extra spooky.
Getting spooky.
Though this isn't themed, so it may or may not be a spooky day.
They're usually themed without you even trying. So
that's true.
We're going to find, it's my favorite thing to do. I find the little link. And
I
they
do
always
too.
have one.
And I've been doing it lately a lot more. Like looking for it subconsciously, you know?
It's very, very weird. Last Listener Stories, we were randomly talking a lot about astral projection and like dreams and things like that. You people are all on the same wavelength, and it's weird.
Someone did comment something that I was already thinking. It's probably
no. I know.
Okay, it's
Don't
probably
ruin it
because we talk about something and that triggers people's memories of a time that they had, and they're like, "Ooh, I need to talk about this."
I am choosing to believe.
Actually, we're all on the same page, and we're all one mind.
I would rather it be whimsical and exciting and paranormal than just logical, okay?
Okay, well, that is the essence of October, so we'll keep it that way.
You know what? Actually, we do need some logic nowadays. So, let's keep it logical.
Our tea today is Harney & Sons Cherry Blossom Green Tea.
Yes, it is.
One of my least favorites.
Keep coming back to it. The person that sent this, you don't know what you've done. Thank you. So, let's go.
It is so good. That's such a good tea.
It's the perfect tea to just have and like have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's floral without being
flowers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Our first story comes from Sarah. Hi, Macy and Natalie. I've recently come across your podcast and am obsessed with it. Thank you, Sarah. Some context before I get to my experience. I feel a strong connection to spirits, which enhances my intuition in profound ways. This sensitivity allows me to perceive energies and emotions that often go unnoticed by others. I experience gut feelings, vivid dreams, and an uncanny ability to sense what others are thinking or feeling. Now on to the story. It was late when my ex left to go home, and I was exhausted, so I went to bed. About 20 minutes later, I woke up suddenly, feeling something cold and wet on me. I was completely startled and confused. There was liquid everywhere, but I didn't have any cups or bottles in my room, so I had no idea where it had come from. The liquid had a strange smell, almost like perfume, but not quite. My heart raced as I tried to process what was happening. I've always been sensitive to the supernatural. I often see figures and spirits, so the unsettling feeling didn't escape me. My first instinct was to call my ex. When he picked up, he sounded panicked. He had been falling asleep while driving, and my call woke him just in time to avoid veering off the road. We brushed off the incident as a weird coincidence, but I couldn't shake the strangeness of it all.
I don't believe in coincidences.
No, neither do I.
I have this weird, I don't know if conundrum would be the right word. It feels wrong, but I'm just going to say it. This thing in my brain where part of me's like, everything happens for a reason. And then when something horrible happens, I'm like, well, what was that for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I do. And it's something that I
struggle with it.
And struggle with too.
I struggle with it. And when you know what? I don't even want to go into it because it's going to make me freak out.
Yeah, this can be a conversation for another day. A few weeks later, he came over again, and I wanted to show him the lingering smell on the blanket. When he took a whiff, his face went pale. That smells like my mom's perfume, he said, clearly shaken. I'd never seen this perfume before and definitely didn't have it in my room. At that moment, I couldn't help but think that maybe his mom had somehow used me to keep him safe, intervening when he needed it most. With my history of seeing spirits, it felt entirely possible. We were left in silence, trying to make sense of everything. It felt surreal, and I wondered what it all meant. This isn't my only experience with the paranormal, but the weirdest for sure. I've woken up to see a woman hovering above me, which made me feel really heavy, but not in a negative way. I don't think she wanted to hurt me. This woman, I believe, follows me where I go, almost like a protector, as I have seen her in multiple locations, including standing between myself and an odd male figure in a friend's house one time. As a kid, I would have afternoon naps with my mom and would often wake up during these naps, mom still asleep, and see a little girl laying next to me. Again, no negative feeling from her. A friend of mine started renting a house, and I went to visit and immediately was like, no, you can't live here. It was such a bad, negative vibe. There was one room in particular that I really hated, and it turned out there was a girl living in that house that ended her own life on the train track right next to the house. This room was her room. There's so many more things, but I've babbled too long now. Would love to hear your thoughts on these experiences on the pod. Love from Australia, Sarah.
Obsessed with that first story.
I know.
That is so unexplainable, but to me is explained. They've explained it.
Yeah, the thought of the mom saying like, okay, how can I save him? Okay, well, I know that he'll like she can, get to him. She knows him. Like, that is beautiful. Also, did your friend end up living there at the house that had all the bad energy? Because that's a little scary to like have, know you have that connection to the other side and have such intense negative feelings in a place. So thank you for sending that in, Sarah. And we'd like to see what everyone else thinks too. Our next story comes from Kaylee. Hello, my name is Kaylee, and I have a few supernatural stories of mine to share. I grew up in Florida, and my family moved to Iowa when I was around 9 years old. Most of these stories, save for one, are from that period of my life. The first story, chronologically, is one I don't remember. My father told me this story when I was a teenager, so take that as you will. He told me that one weekend before my sister was born, so I was no older than 3, we were on a road trip, driving through an unfamiliar town. As we drove through this place, we drove past an apartment above a storefront where caution tape was hung up and had clearly been through some kind of serious event. According to my dad from the backseat of the car, I said that I had been inside that apartment, quote, last night, with the little girl who lived there and sat with her as she died in the fire. They didn't share this with me at the time, but apparently my parents looked up what happened there. This was around 2005 and found that the apartment had burned and a young girl had died.
That's insanely sad, but it gives me just a sliver of comfort.
Gave me chills that someone will be with you in your final moments.
That this person, even if, I don't know, because how does a kid say that?
I know.
Spiritually or somehow they were there as a comfort, and for some reason that brings me just like, in this horrible tragedy, like the tiniest little silver
lining,
speckle of hope.
That gave me intense chills all through, through my whole body. My next story takes place a few years later. I was somewhere around 7 years old, I think. I don't recall much save for these 2 stories, but my grandmother took me to Virginia on a trip to clean my great-grandmother's house, as she had recently passed and they wanted to sell the home. According to her, the house was built by my great-great-grandfather and had always been in the family. One night, I remember so clearly sitting in the living room of the house, watching cartoons and playing with a brand new Barbie I had just gotten, when I got a strange feeling deep in my gut and looked up past the TV and down the hall leading to the room my grandmother and I were sharing. I watched an oddly tall shadow figure walk across the hallway from the room across ours into our room. I screamed out for my grandma, who ran up the stairs from the basement and up the foyer into the living room. When I told her what happened, she turned the lights on in the house and we both looked but found no person anywhere. I didn't sleep that night.
I wouldn't sleep ever again.
The next story also happened on this trip. We had gone to a thrift/antique store, and I had wandered away from my grandparents and was looking at mirrors. I remember crouching down to look at a mirror that I felt a particular pull towards. It was metallic, fogged over, and clearly very old. As I sat on the floor looking into it, I very clearly heard breathing in my ear from right behind my shoulder. I didn't see anything in the mirror or behind me, but I got up and found my grandparents, and I was absolutely scared to death. Being pulled to the mirror, was it whatever was within the mirror, the breath on you?
Knowing what you know, if you felt particularly pulled to a mirror, would you go and look at it?
I don't know if you can control that kind of thing.
I mean,
like if you get a vibe so strong that you're like, I have to see what's over here. You know, like, are you going to go against your gut?
Well, no, because I'm curious. And even if I know I'm going to see something terrible, I'm like, well, like, I got to see what it is.
Yeah.
Which I wish I wasn't that way. I can never leave anything alone. I always want to know what's going on. But I think in that instance, I would regret it. I'd be like, I shouldn't have gone. Like, I knew it was going to be scary.
Afterwards?
Especially a mirror.
Yeah. No, mirrors freak me out. I don't know. If I could control that kind of feeling, yeah, I'd be like, not today.
Yeah.
Nah. My next experience happened throughout the duration of my time living in Florida. We lived in a small house near Cocoa Beach for 5 or 6 years. I never felt completely at ease in that house. Playing in my sister in my room and suddenly knowing I wasn't alone or hearing odd sounds through the night. The worst, most vivid thing about that house, though, were the dreams. I had a recurring nightmare where I saw the living room of that house from above and a girl sitting in the middle of the room screaming. The strangest part, though, was that the living room always looked like it really did. Things were left lying on the couch would be there, the footrest left up on my dad's chair, things like that. The worst part, though, was the last night in the house before we left for Iowa. I had the dream for the last time, but the living room was completely empty, just like it sat at the time. Even though I don't remember what the girl looked like, sometimes in the dream I could see her. I don't know how, I just know.
What?
Creepy.
In the middle of the room, screaming.
As the living room looked. So, like,
That she's presently
the
there.
fact that all of the furniture was gone, and like I could see that maybe like what the living room looks like, so your dream mind is creating the scene, but it's all gone. And that's not how you typically, when you think of your living room, think of like where your furniture is. You don't think of it empty, even if you just emptied it out that day,
I don't remember what my living room looks like without my furniture in it. It's been there too long. I don't remember.
Why is she screaming?
I don't know.
My last experience, and the most recent, happened the summer before I started high school. I had joined a book club with the English teacher I was going to have, and she had a trip to Villisca Axe Murder House planned for the end of the summer. Which, by the way, that's on the list.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Only myself and one other student could make it, though, so it was a very small group of us. When we first went inside the house, there was another group looking around. They were teasing and being disrespectful to the house and the people who suffered inside. The vibes of the house were strange, but normal. After looking around for a bit, we went to the other building on the property, which had been built as a small visitor center, where the primary caretaker and historian worked. We spoke with him for a bit before going back inside, alone this time. Unlike the first time, the vibes were decidedly not good. I felt oppressively anxious and scared, like there was someone in the house and I just knew it. We stood in the kitchen, which was right inside the front door, and I thought I was going to cry. I was so scared. As we stood listening to the house, we suddenly heard a scraping sound from the upper floor. Our teacher wanted to go investigate, so we followed her up the staircase to check it out. As soon as she got to the top of the stairs, a loud bang sounded from the small attic door, and we turned and ran down the stairs and out the door.
As a person that works in education myself, I would never bring students into something like that, because guess what? They're scared. I'm even more scared.
I'm already gone.
They're going to hold me.
Though, that is really cool. A book club with your English teacher, and you go on like little field trips, and
that's really
like
cute.
A little paranormal field trip. That's awesome.
I love that because that gets people excited about reading too.
I literally, one of my thoughts on where I would end up is becoming a high school English teacher. And I had thought like, oh, I'd love to like have like a little like side reading. If anyone wants to read extra with me, we're going to be reading these books,
Oh yeah. I wish more people would read.
My mom claims that she can see ghosts, having grown up in Virginia around many Civil War sites. She's told me a few stories, but she also says that she hasn't really seen anything since we moved up to Iowa. But she won't tell me what she has seen since then, which is deeply unsettling. I hope you enjoyed my story. I really love listening to the pod while I'm doing homework or driving, though sometimes I have to stop listening when I'm alone. Thank you so much.
I thought we were going to get the mom stories.
I know, give us the mom lore.
I was buckling up, but wow. I would like to know her lore, her experiences.
Yeah, if she's willing to share. Thank you, Kaylee, and possibly Kaylee's mom. Our next story comes from Tav. Hi, I've been listening for a few months now, and I've decided to share my stories with you. You guys are so funny on your pod. Me and my partner love you guys a lot. Anyways, to the stories. Thank you. People in my family have always been sensitive to spirits, though I wasn't aware of this until I was around 18 and my mom had finally told me. So I've always kind of seen spirits and had them seek me out. The first time I had ever been scared, though, was when I met George. Well, I named him George after this encounter in order to control my fear of him.
I was just about to say, how do you know its name? But thank you for answering that.
One night I woke up in a cold sweat, unable to move my body and facing my closet, which was way darker than I had remembered it being. I struggled to move as a shadow creature emerged from my closet and towered over me, having to hunch down as it was taller than my 10-foot ceiling. It walked over to me and made several noises. I couldn't understand any of them. All I could do was feel tears run down my face while it grabbed onto my arm. It sank a large claw into my upper arm and dragged down. It was then I regained control of my body and could feel the pain it left behind. Seeing that I could now move, I think it realized it was out of time. I'm still not sure what it wanted, but it scurried back into my closet. Once it was fully gone, I scrambled outside into the very rare snowy night, the only light being from the LED in the kitchen through our large windows and sliding glass door. I clutched onto my arm and felt it was wet. So I looked down to see that it was gushing blood. That thing had actually cut into my arm and it was bleeding all over me. I had no choice but to run to the bathroom and patch it up on my own since I knew no one would believe me. This happened when I was around 10 years old, I believe. I know it was real because I still have the scar to this day. But I did get cleansed many times over the years, and that thing does not follow me around anymore. Yay. Thanks for listening and keep up the sick pod, Tav. That one is horrifying. Words cannot describe the terror I feel.
I've never heard something like that happening where, because, we've heard like, oh, I felt it touch me and then I woke up, or, oh, I saw it and then you're bleeding. Why are you bleeding?
We've seen people who get scratched, but they don't see them like being scratched, you know? Like they just suddenly have a random scratch on their back or something. But to have a deep gash in your arm.
And it's scarred.
Watching it do this to you.
This is going to ruin me.
It scurried back into the closet.
Stop. I don't like the word scurried.
I saw your whole body.
It ruined the whole... Ugh.
Yeah. Once again, words can't describe. That was horrid. Horrid, horrid, horrid. Our next story comes from Tracy. Hi, ladies. I love your podcast. I feel like I'm sitting there with you guys going, yeah, me too. You're fun and very sweet. I'm 51, live in Houston, Texas, and I listen to a lot of ghosty type podcasts, so YouTube suggested the episode on Galveston. What a great episode. I've been obsessed and binging all your elder episodes. Definitely makes my 40-minute commute more enjoyable and reduces the road rage, although I do find myself glancing in the back seat from time to time.
That's horrifying. Also, thank you. I feel like Galveston was not a good episode to show up on. I don't think it was our best.
To be your first episode.
I don't think it was our best.
It was fun though.
It was very fun. I would love to do like
good info.
Yes, I'd love to do Galveston again. Speaking of though, that was the one in our only guest we ever had. She's coming back, guys.
Whoa.
Just want to throw that out there.
Keep an eye out for Kay.
Kayla will be back.
Also, when they said my 40-minute commute, my first thought was like, oh, you probably live like less than 10 miles away from your job.
I was going to say 10 miles from your job. Shout out to all the people driving in Houston traffic. Honestly, though, I will say no one probably cares. I think Dallas traffic is worse than Houston traffic, and I'll die on that hill.
I can't say. I mean, I lived and worked in Houston for several years, and
Dallas traffic?
I was like 12 miles away, and it took me like more than an hour every single day.
Houston's is longer, but Dallas's is horrifying. Everybody wants you dead.
Okay, with that, we will move on.
Scary.
I have a story for you. Actually, I have several, but I'll start with one since I tend to be long-winded. They want you dead.
I'm being so serious. They don't care if you live or die.
Okay, we moved around a lot when I was a kid. My parents and older brothers worked a lot of migrant-type jobs and construction in the 70s, so we traveled all along the South following work. When I was about 9 or 10, we bought a small motor home to make traveling easier, and campgrounds were a lot more affordable than renting apartments. One campground that we frequented in Florida was called Larry and Penny Thompson. It's still there, by the way. Just look for Larry and Penny Thompson Memorial Park and Campground on Google Maps. The campground has multiple buildings with bathrooms and showers on one side and a laundry room on the other. The area where we parked had one really close to our camp spot, so I was allowed to go there on my own. I walked over early one morning to see if there was anyone in the showers. If there wasn't, I was going to take one. I was shy, and my mom taught me to be wary of strangers. The large door leading into the bathroom was propped open with a wedge, so I just walked in and started to walk straight to the back where the showers were. As I passed the bathroom stalls, I glanced underneath. No feet. The showers were past the bathroom stalls and in a row to my left, and there was a long bench on my right. I started at the last shower and looked in. Empty. Next shower. Empty. Next shower. Empty. Just a couple more showers to go. I knew I was alone in the bathroom, but I wanted to complete my investigation, so I continued walking into each shower. When I walked into the last shower, the massive door that was wedged open slammed shut. My eyes went cold. I felt like I was frozen in place, but I forced myself to walk out of the shower and leave. When I started walking toward the door, I heard the loud footsteps behind me, like someone wearing cowboy boots. I couldn't do more than walk quickly to the door. I exited the bathroom and let the door slam behind me. There was a breezeway between the bathrooms and laundry rooms, and I stood there for a minute waiting to see if anyone came out. Nothing. No one was anywhere near the building. I took a drink from the water fountain, gathered up my courage, and walked back to the camper to tell my mom what happened. My mom is a very strong believer in the occult and supernatural. She's of Mexican descent and grew up near the Mexican border. She was always telling me spooky stories of her childhood. She's also a devout Catholic, so having holy water in our home was a normal thing. She and I went back to the bathroom and she took holy water and her rosary, said some prayers, and told me that it was an evil spirit, but that it should be gone now. I didn't hear the footsteps anymore, but that wasn't the only thing that happened in the area of the campground. I'll have to send you another email with the ghost cat story that happened in that same area of that campground. By the way, my mom told me about mimics when I was little. I would hear my name being called and she told me to never answer them. She said they were bad spirits and that they were trying to get you into dangerous situations. Please feel free to share this on your pod. Oh, also, I'm generally a coffee drinker, but you've inspired me to dig out the tea that's been sitting in my cabinet. I enjoy mostly the herbal fruity teas. I do love a good chai with some honey, but I've been trying to cut back on caffeine. Lately, my teas of choice have been Twinings pomegranate and raspberry and Celestial Seasonings black cherry berry. I just ordered some Twinings peach and orange and CS tangerine orange zinger to give something citrusy a try. Thanks, and until next time, Tracy.
Tracy, you would love the tea we're drinking today.
Yes, it's very good. Anyway, Tracy, that's horrifying.
Yeah, that's really scary, but
just in the bathroom too.
It's always the bathroom.
The heavy booted footsteps.
It's always the bathroom, the shower. Communal showers or bathrooms in general, they scare me.
They give me a vibe anyway, yeah.
Yep.
Our next story comes from Maria. Hi there, girlies. I love your guys' channel, by the way. Keep it up. For this first story, please put a trigger warning for drug abuse for our fellow members. It's a bit dark and sad. So if you need to, you can skip. We usually have timestamps, so you can skip on to the next story. Thank you for the warning, Maria. When I was about 13 years old, we sadly got the news that our father passed away due to an overdose. We didn't have that much contact with him due to the toxicity it caused for our mom and my other siblings, so we had to cremate him. Once we brought his ashes home, weird and strange things started to happen, like the TV turning on and off. Our chihuahua, who didn't like men, was barking at nothing at one point. Although I was kind of scared, it kind of felt bittersweet because I knew it was our dad. A month later, we took his ashes to Mexico to lay his soul to rest, and all the strange things that were happening to our house stopped once our dad was back home. I'm glad my dad is no longer in pain and suffering with his addiction, but still hurts when I miss him. I'm sorry you lost him, and yeah, I'm glad he's not suffering anymore.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, but honestly, that's a beautiful story to have because you know he was there, and then y'all put him. He was able to rest.
Yeah,
brought him home. That was the part that almost made me like, oop, I had to suck it up. I was about to get emotional, but that's beautiful.
Second story, very scary. I was a junior in high school layout context, big high on a main road, and residential houses surrounding the high school on a busy street as well. My boyfriend, now fiance, would meet me at school at like 6:30 a.m. to spend more time together. I was waiting on a bench for my boyfriend because he rides his bike to get to school and I rode the bus. As I was sitting on the bench texting him, I suddenly heard children's laughter. And I thought, WTF, it's 6 a.m. Why are there children playing? Then I felt this sudden urge that someone was staring at the back of my head. I turned to see this figure of someone peeking with their head sticking out of the side of the house, kind of by the driveway. They were looking at me. Then my heart dropped. I was frozen. Then it quickly hid behind the house again. I went to the front of the building because I got scared. The figure was straight pitch black, although the bright garage light was shining on it. I think that was a ghost or something paranormal. Please read on the podcast, Maria.
I don't think there's a scarier visual than something peeking and then quickly like, oh, I was caught.
The videos that I see, and I don't know if they're real because obviously they're like on TikTok and Instagram and stuff, but the videos I see of things like that send me just
every time.
Over the edge.
Gets me every time. There's not a single time that I am not horribly frightened.
Yeah.
So
that
thank you.
Image in real life, no. Our next story comes from Erika. Hello, my name is Erika, and I found you guys on YouTube a couple of days ago. So glad I did. I love that you talk about all the unexplainable things and find it super fascinating. I have a story to share that I thought you guys might like, and if you would like to share it at some point, you're welcome to. I would be very interested in what other opinions on it might be. So for context, I'm originally from a small town in Alberta, Canada. We, my mom, sister, auntie, and I, have lived together since I was young, and we moved away from that town for many years. We are all interested in paranormal and unexplainable things, and have all had experiences before. The first year we moved back to our small town, something very strange happened to me. One of my mom's friends runs the museum where we live, and it is basically like what the original town was like, with a few of the original houses, the old newspaper building, the first firehouse, and things like that. Of course, with all museums, there are artifacts and things as well, and I have felt weird vibes, mostly from the old houses there, since I was a child. We went on school field trips there in elementary school. A little after we had moved back, my mom's friend took us, my mom, sister, auntie, and I, on a tour of the museum, just for fun since it had been a while. It was fine until we went into what was the old newspaper building. The moment I stepped inside, I just felt so sick and lightheaded. I remember it super clear, but I moved as if I was being guided. Everyone else was fine. They were just chatting, looking at some of the artifacts and the old printing press and things like that. The first thing I did was turn my head to my right to look in the corner, or rather, felt like my head got turned. There stood a big old metal safe that I just couldn't look away from. I walked over to it, though I didn't really want to. I felt like I had to. I could feel some kind of weight on my chest as I stood next to it, and felt like it was hard to breathe. I don't know why, but I started to tap on it, then looked at my mom's friend. I didn't even really think, I just said to her, interrupting their conversation, "There's something in here, isn't there?" Not even as if it was a question. My heart was beating so fast, but I had to say it. I just had this really weird feeling. Everyone just looked at me for a minute, and right after I said it, my mom's friend's eyes went wide. She just slowly nodded and eventually said to us that she wasn't supposed to tell anyone. But somewhere in our county, some builders or farmers or someone had found a skeleton. It was in an unmarked grave and was missing its bones from the knees down. The police had initially taken it, but because it was so old or something and unidentified, they didn't want it. I didn't know police could just give away an unidentified skeleton. Anyway, they had given it to the museum. But my mom's friend didn't know what to do with it either, so she just put it in a safe until she and a couple of other people there figured it out. She told us not to tell anyone, and that the only people who knew were some people that worked there. The only person with the code to the safe was an old man in his 70s. Kind of unrelated, but a fact I found interesting. My heart was beating so fast as she said all of this. I never had any experiences like it. I don't claim to have any abilities, but the feeling I got was indescribable. I felt like I couldn't move from the spot and just kept tapping on the safe for a bit, feeling like my head was spinning. I don't know what happened to the skeleton after that or who it might have been, but it still gives me chills. There are other ghostly encounters and stories from the museum, including a supposedly haunted hearse. But because it was just my small town museum and I'd been there several times before, I didn't expect anything at all. I've had a few other things happen to me, and so have my family. But with all of us being there at that time, there wasn't any room to question how weird it was. We still talk about it and how we would never have known about the skeleton if I hadn't outright asked what it was, as she wasn't supposed to say anything to anyone. I don't know if anyone else has ever had an experience like this, but needless to say, I was a bit freaked out. I'm not a writer, so hopefully it was easy to follow and well explained. I hope you enjoyed, and I appreciate you reading it. Take care, Erika.
It was very easy to follow, so don't even worry about that. I feel so disturbed by this because
Okay, what are your thoughts? You tell me your thoughts and I'll tell you mine.
I am and this is something that bothers me really bad, unsolved murders and crimes and unidentified bodies, and when they just find someone and they're like, don't know who it is, Jane Doe, bury it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that to me is like that skeleton, or like the person that was that skeleton just reaching out and saying, hey, like I'm here.
Okay, that was my thought too.
I need to know who they are.
Whatever being used to reside in that skeleton is still attached and is like, I'm here.
Wants to be known, recognized. I just can't imagine.
Or one of the ghosts in the old town was like, hey, there's some skeleton in here.
True. Maybe they're just like,
someone needs to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's that because I instantly got really sad.
Yeah, me too. That was my first thought.
Is that too morbid and sad?
No.
Do we need to be more ghostly?
I just feel bad. I mean, it's still ghostly. I would like to know what other people think as well. Like, do you believe what Natalie talked about or something else? What are your thoughts?
And because
that is incredibly interesting. The way that she was just drawn to it, you know?
Yeah. I'm so invested and interested in genetic genealogy.
That's also a whole nother conversation for another day because
I could talk about that for days.
Me too.
And so I'm like, everybody give us your DNA. Like, I know that obviously is not
feasible.
No, but like, I'll give mine. If it helps
Solve
find
a
someone,
crime? Yeah.
yes. Oh, because I am just such a huge,
Bleeding heart.
yet that, but just like, I need justice. If
No, I
there's
feel you.
no justice, or if like something hasn't been resolved the way it needs to, I'm like, I can't relax.
Oh, no, I feel that way. Definitely. Like, I don't like watching the bad guy win. So yeah, let us know what you think that could have been. Why were they so drawn to the safe, to the remains?
And what are you supposed to do after? I mean, obviously they were a kid at that time, but now
Even
what?
now, like,
Now what?
as an adult, what now?
It would bother me forever. It's going to bother me now. And I didn't even experience it.
Our next story comes from Angelina. Hi, so this particular story is not one of my own, but my cousin's and my aunt's. My aunt, Elle, as we will call her in this story, liked to read a ton of spooky books. They were all around her and her kid's apartment. One night, they went to bed, but then my cousin, G, woke up to a strange noise. She saw her brother, A, crawl backward on his tiptoes and then jump up.
No.
She woke up my aunt, and they were both terrified. The window shutters started shaking. I don't have the exact details of what happened next, but from my cousin A's point of view, he was being dragged to his feet and then holstered up in the air by the back of his shirt. That morning, my aunt threw away all of her spooky books. I have a few more stories, so just let me know if you guys want to hear more. Love the pod.
Burn the books.
I don't know if it was a book's fault.
I don't know. Well, maybe not. Don't burn the books, but cleanse them, douse them in holy water, set them out to dry, and then put them back. Read still.
Let's not do that.
Again, let's all read. But, oh my God.
So scary.
I don't like the visual of the boy at all.
Being dragged and like just up in the air.
I've said it. I've said it a bunch of
Yuck.
times. If I saw you do something like that, I would never be able to trust you again. I would be afraid of you for the rest of my life.
Well, they were being dragged. They weren't,
But they,
like, crawling around doing it all on their own. Like, they were,
even
things
then,
were being done to them.
even then, I would just be so afraid. Anytime I didn't have eyes on you, I'd feel like you were like ready to pounce.
Our next story comes from Emily. Hey ladies, I just discovered your podcast/channel in the past month and love everything you do. The way you tell stories, make commentary, and research the facts is a perfect combo of everything I crave when it comes to the paranormal. That is so nice. Thank you. I wanted to share some stories from my experiences. I am from the Appalachia area, so I loved everything you covered on Appalachian stories. Mine are not particular to that. They mostly entail shadow figures and hauntings in my old home. Here we go. First ghostly encounter with a shadow man. My first ghostly encounter that I can recall was when I was in college. I used to hang out with my now husband and his friends all the time, which they were always up to shenanigans. In our city, there was a partially abandoned insane asylum. Certain buildings were abandoned, but others were still in use. That was set to be fully demolished and made into a park. His friends wanted to go investigate some of the buildings before the teardown, and they somehow convinced me to go along. At this time, I was somewhat of a skeptic, but believed there are some unexplainable things out there. We decided to go the week before Halloween late at night. We did research on the property. The most haunted places were the cafeteria and the gym. However, due to the people vandalizing the place often, there were cameras set up on the outside of those places, and also a security building nearby. We found that there was a building that housed a massive boiler room that went directly to the tunnels that connect all of the buildings. Our plan was to get into this building, go into the tunnels, and get into the cafeteria. I now think back on this and go, what was I thinking?
I'm glad you said it because I was about to say it.
So we arrive at the property and find the boiler building. When we approached the building, we saw all the lights on, so we proceeded with caution in case security was there. We then see that the front door is slightly open and that a bookshelf was knocked over, partially blocking the entrance. We managed to squeeze around the bookshelf and noticed that someone broke through the window that the bookshelf was placed in front of to then open the front door. Now, this is important for later. This building had only 2 windows, one on the side that was broken and one in the front near the door that was still intact. I also want to note that my husband and I were big into the show Supernatural at the time, so to be safe, we brought canisters of salt with us. If you know, you know. We explored the first few rooms in the building, which was pretty much just a break room, small meeting room, and bathroom. We proceeded towards the boilers and started to get freaked out because this area was dark. We kept talking about seeing spots behind the boilers that were darker than dark. I didn't want to spend much time there, so I pressed on, while my husband and his friends spread salt around to be funny. To the right of the boilers was a stairwell that led down, so I knew this must be the way to the tunnels. We went down the stairs and sure enough, the tunnels were right there. However, we couldn't go any further because they were flooded. There was about a foot or two of water, and one of the guys in the group was like, "It's just water," but the color of it was rusty, so my germaphobe self was like, no.
Agreed.
Not going any further. I then noticed on my right was a garage door that was partially closed. I bent down to look and see what was in there and saw a gurney. I literally squealed and was confused as to why that would be down in the tunnels in a garage. Next thing I knew, we all looked back up at the tunnels and saw a light now on that was not on before. We all were freaking out at this point and decided to make our way to the exit. We started to slightly panic and swiftly leave. Once we got outside, about 6 feet away, we heard a loud crash from the building that sounded like a window shattering. We all swiftly turned around to look, knowing it could only be that front window because the only other one was already broken, the window fully intact. Then we see in the window a 7-foot tall shadow figure wearing a top hat. I don't know how to describe how I felt at that moment. The figure did not have eyes, but I somehow felt its eyes glaring at me. It almost felt like it was peering into my soul. I was so terrified that I screamed, ran a few feet away from the rest of the group. Then a pack of bats flew out of the trees, causing me to have a meltdown. We have never seen bats in our city, only more in the mountains. I stopped and formed a salt circle in the grass. Everyone else followed suit with me, and I just fell to the ground crying. I don't know if this spirit was mad about my husband slinging salt around the building or what. Ever since, I have been mortified to ever see a shadow figure again. I've never had another experience with one, but I've explored places that have had encounters. As we go on tours for these places, I can always sense where they reside before they even say it. It's almost like I'm scarred or something now.
Why was there a gurney in the tunnel? What is that about?
My heart tells me that it was just vandals and kids moving things around.
My brain begs for that to be the answer,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I don't like it either way.
And I don't want to think about it. Also, what was the thing down there? What was it? Was it like an old doctor? Was it an old patient? Who?
I don't know, a
was it?
manifestation of all the negativity that could have been happening in that asylum.
You know how I feel about those, though.
I know.
You all know. And if you don't know, just know it's not good.
No, you do. The next story, Toby, our traveling house ghost. Now, my other stories mostly revolve around a ghost that was following my husband that he named Toby. Let's start with the beginning. My husband believes that some kind of ghost has followed him for all of his life. I need to look into this more. Maybe he's not aware that he's a medium or something. But this one in particular made itself known to him after some shenanigans with his college roommates. One night they had ordered pizza and had some drinks. Then someone thought it would be funny to play with a Ouija board. However, none of them had one, so my husband proceeded to make one with a pizza box. They play around and have a few weird things happen and just thought it was all a hoax. Until my husband started having weird things happen, such as covers being pulled off him while he slept and doors opening on their own. He moved into an apartment shortly after where these instances continued. Many times when I would come hang out with him and take a nap on his couch, I would get a sense of being watched. It was very eerie. Now, Toby did not interact with me at all until my husband and I got married and we officially moved in together. In our very first week in the house, I had a terrifying experience. I got up really early to get ready for work, about 5 a.m. I was putting on makeup and fixing my hair. I then could hear a knocking sound. For reference, the house we rented was one level. Our bedroom was farthest from the front door and garage with a long hallway that passed the other rooms and bathroom. At first, I thought I imagined the knocking until I heard it again. It clearly sounded like someone was knocking at our front door. I was so confused because of how early it was for someone to be knocking. I wake up my husband as the knocking continues. I should note here that the knocking came in groups of 3.
Of course it did.
My husband and I exit the bedroom slowly and could tell by the sound that the knocking was not coming from the front door, but instead the door that leads out to our garage, which was directly in the line of sight at the end of the hallway. I don't understand what came over me at that moment, but I was angry. I started to run towards the garage door and the wildest things occurred. As I ran towards the door, the knocks got faster and faster. I also heard the sound of footsteps above my head as if someone was running in sync with me. Again, this was a one-level home. I sling open the door and nothing was there. The knocking had stopped completely. I then turned to my husband and said, "Can we add a deadbolt to this door?" He said, "Absolutely." Now, nothing as dramatic as that happened again for a while until about a year later. I was a high school teacher, and one week in October, I noticed something was off about me. I had multiple occurrences of hearing things that didn't happen. One day, my husband was riding in the car with me, and I swear he asked me a question, but it was extremely muffled, like he was mumbling or something. I asked him to repeat what he said, and he looked at me so confused and said, "Honey, I haven't said anything the whole time we've been in the car, for the past 15 minutes. I was mortified, but just brushed it off, thinking I must be tired. A week later at school, my students started cutting up about something funny, and I joined along with them to be fun. I distinctly heard a student in the class ask me if he could go to the bathroom, which the student asked me to go every day about the same time, and I knew this was his voice. As we finished laughing from the silly conversation we were having, I turned to the student and said, "Hey, student, the answer to your question is yes. Go ahead and go." He looked at me, so confused and concerned. He proceeds to tell me that he hasn't said anything all class and didn't even need to go yet. I then looked around the whole room and asked the class, "Well, who asked to go?" Everyone looked at me concerned. One student said, "No one asked to go to the bathroom." I just know that my face had to say everything because my students were so concerned. I told them about our ghost, Toby, and the weird things happening to me with hearing people speak that never did. A student in the class laughed and said, "I have to be playing them." He then taunted Toby out loud and invited him to come home with him. I freaked out, but the student said he didn't care. I tried to change the subject back to our lesson, but later that week, I also had a creepy occurrence happen in my classroom, where I stayed late for a parent night and was grading in my room. Outside had gotten very dark. My classroom was on the second floor of the building. I had my back turned towards the window and heard knocking on my window. I freaked out, acted like it didn't happen, packed up my stuff, and remained in the school library with other teachers until I could go home. Now, going back to the student who taunted Toby. He was absent for most of the week until Friday. This wasn't abnormal for him, so I really didn't think anything of it, until he came early to class that day and told me that Toby, in fact, came home with him that night and that I needed to take him back. My student said that his TV that he leaves on at night began flipping channels when the remote was sitting undisturbed on his nightstand, and his bathroom sink continued to turn on and off on its own throughout the night. Not sure if this really happened, but this student seemed so shaken that I've never seen him look like that before. Now, my husband and I, from around this point, acknowledged that Toby was real. We joked that he might have been a genie instead of a ghost because we noticed he was most active wherever this creepy lamp was that my husband got from his grandparents, which it was in the garage when the knocking event happened. But the last occurrence from Toby happened about 5 years ago, before we moved into our new home. My husband and I loved watching Ghost Adventures. We would often watch it at dinner. One night, we were watching a creepy demonic episode that we both got freaked out about and changed it to something else. As soon as my husband put something else on, I saw out of the corner of my eye the kitchen sink faucet flip straight up. My husband freaked, and like the first time, I don't know what came over me, but I was angry. I said out loud, "Oh no, Toby, I am so over your S. You can leave my husband and our house the F alone. You are not welcome here, and you need to get out. Get the F out." My husband slowly got up and turned the sink off. Ever since that night, we had nothing else happen. I have one more story related to my college campus and a haunting I experienced there, but I'll share that another time. One other thing I wanted to note here to get your opinions on and see if there's enough out there to have a video on is that I never had paranormal experiences as a kid, from at least what I recall, until I was in high school. However, I've told some coworkers of my ghostly encounters, so one day I told them about an experience where I almost drowned at the beach. Sorry in advance for this because I know Natalie's afraid of water as me, even though I wasn't that afraid until this experience. I swam way out into the water at Tybee Island Beach. Tybee Island is a very haunted place, by the way, at 14 years old. I was riding waves just with my body and having a good time with classmates. It was a school field trip. I realized I was starting to get tired, so I headed back to shore. Part of the way in, I kicked off too early and got stuck in an undertow of a wave. I was spinning and couldn't get my head above the water. I was grasping for anything. I was hoping that I was close enough to get to shore to get some footing, but nothing. I literally felt my life flash before my eyes. It was so fast, but it made me feel at peace with everything and that I had no regrets. But then I took one last moment as I could feel my lungs couldn't take another second. I prayed to God that my body would be found for my mother, which is wild to be going through my mind at 14 and during this experience. The moment I said amen, my face hit the bottom of the sand floor so hard. I was able to grab the sand and hoist myself up and catch my breath. When I told a coworker this story, she said, I get it now. Why you have so many experiences. It's because the ghosts know that you know. What? So, I would love to hear if there are more stories or research on how near-death experiences may open you to more paranormal encounters. What do y'all think? Thanks for reading. Again, love what y'all do. I hope you both have a great day, Emily.
Near-death
Intrigued.
experiences? Yeah, first of all, very intrigued. That was one of my favorite episodes.
I know we talked about it last episode too, I think.
Let's run it back. Do it again. Because it was wholesome, comforting, scary. It was everything I needed.
I would like to look into, even if there's no research on it, because, I mean, who am I? But having a near-death experience and then being more open to the other side of the veil, you know?
Which seems plausible to me.
That it makes sense in my mind.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, that you get so close to the other side that you just kind of, it remains open.
Yeah, I definitely think that's possible.
I'm just telling y'all to comment, like leave a million comments for us because this is a whole conversation we're having, or several conversations. Yeah. If you've ever had an experience like that, like a near-death experience, or you've heard of somebody who's had a near-death experience and then you've had like increased paranormal activity, let us know. Okay, our last story was unsigned, so we're leaving with an anonymous listener. Ooh. Hey Ghosties, I want to start this off by saying I love your podcast. I love the topics you cover and love to watch them on YouTube as I do cross-stitching. You always make me laugh and I love telling my partner about the latest video I've watched. I'm going to try and quickly compile all of the experiences I've had over the years, including one that happened last night. It would be so cool to me if it ended up on the podcast, but even if not, I hope this gives you something entertaining to read. I'll start off with the most recent, which in fact happened last night. I go over to my boyfriend's house a lot, and we all know about Gary, the previous owner of the house whose ashes were scattered in the garden. He's always doing things like tapping on the bedroom walls and walking around. I've heard the tapping on multiple occasions, as well as him walking around when I'm either home alone with my boyfriend or I'm in the house with just the dogs. However, last night was a new experience. We were laying in bed, mind you, it's the top bunk of a bunk bed, and I felt light, frequent tapping on the top of my head, and then a finger trailed down the side of my head. I asked my boyfriend if it was him, and he said no, and tapped my neck, showing where his hand was. I wasn't scared, and I've never been scared of Gary. It's still his house, and we all respect that. I simply replied, okay, to my boyfriend after taking a deep breath and started working on falling asleep again.
That's fine, Gary. You can stay, but don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
Yeah, I feel.
It's your house. It was your house before. Fine. I'm off limits.
Another recent experience happened around a month or two back when I was at my own house in my room and it was around 2 a.m. I struggle to sleep a lot, so I'm always up that late. And I looked over to the end of my room where I saw a black shadow quickly move towards my wardrobe. I left the light on after that and fell asleep that way.
I do that often. Most
Leaving
of the time,
the lights on?
Most of the time.
Without the shadow figure.
Yeah, I sleep with my lamp on a lot.
My first paranormal experience ever was this. I live in South Wales, and my father, brother, and myself wanted to go to an abandoned place nearby. We found a mental asylum over 100 years old and decided to take the long 4-hour car ride there. The building itself was beautiful, and I'm planning to go there again, hopefully soon. We got out of the car and had to walk around the outside looking at what we could without trespassing. We all stopped walking, yet I could still hear footsteps behind us that stopped soon after. They started again seconds later, and I heard a woman scream. Mind you, we were alone. I asked my brother and dad if they heard anything, and they said no. I was 14 at the time, and I've always been interested in the paranormal, so this was exciting, but filled me with sadness, as I could only imagine why that woman was screaming, and given the building's history, it could have been nothing good.
It's really sad, and like I said, we already know how I feel about any type of old asylum. Because a lot of the time, yes, they were trying to help.
The old ones.
Yes, I do want to believe that they were just trying to help, but a lot of the time it was misguided or they didn't know what they were doing, and it was just really hard and sad and scary and painful.
A thing you should know about me on top of these experiences is that I tend to lucid dream for a couple of days straight before they stop and I stop dreaming altogether. The lucid dreams tend to be about my mother and brother. They'll be downstairs and have wide, stretched smiles up to their cheeks and blacked out eyes. It's always the same, just different hues of light, for example, from red to almost black, but still enough light to see the expressions on their faces. I always tell them, you're not real. This is a dream, which is when their heads will snap to the side and everything goes black before I wake up terrified. I also tend to hear voices every now and again. I'm not diagnosed or experience any symptoms of mental illness that may cause these things. The best way I can describe these voices is that they're human. Always either a grown man or woman. I always understand what they say, but then it turns into a foggy memory and I can never remember what they say afterwards. Again, they never scare me. I just take it as harmless spirits trying to give me a message, which my brain only processes for a moment before my mind goes blank on the matter. I've always been able to feel the energies in my room and feel how other people feel. I've had spirits come to me in my dreams in the past and woke up feeling how that spirit did. I don't bring it up a lot because I often feel crazy when talking to people about it. I didn't want to leave anything out as I know that both Natalie and yourself always like to hear everything instead of cliffhangers. I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time and you have a good time reading my experiences. I wish you both the best and will now be going back to my Halloween cross stitch whilst watching your podcast with my dog snoring next to me.
Oh, thank you.
I like the visual of the dog to cleanse my palate of the visual of your dreams.
Yup. I don't particularly want to discuss that dream. I've heard all I need to hear. I've visualized all I need to visualize.
I've seen all I've needed to see.
I am good. If you would like to discuss further, reach out to her.
That's so scary. That's so scary.
Saying you're not real.
I don't know if it's just the mood I'm in or what, but this episode was particularly chilling to me.
You have to drive home.
I do, and I don't want to, and it's nighttime.
I have to edit by myself in this room.
So thanks everyone for listening. If you have a story you want to send to us, you can email us at ghostiespod@gmail.com. It's written in the description if you need to see it. Like this video if you liked it. Share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so. And subscribe for more spooky, haunting, ghostly tales for the rest of October. We've got a lot of fun things coming, possibly tomorrow.
Some costumes.
If you're here, still here, you get to know. You may or may not see us tomorrow.
Yes. Join the Patreon if you'd like to.
Oh yeah, patreon.com/ghosties. Fun stuff over there too.
And let us know when you'll get your merch. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too.
The hoodie's
can't wait
so
to see.
cute.
Like, if you take pictures, tag us or send it to us. We want to see.
I'm actually going to cry.
I will.
Yeah.
I've already cried thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's just something we love. And
Yeah.
I'm glad we get to share it with you guys.
Same. Next merch drop, Ghost Cats.
See you when we see you.
Goodbye.